Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Meena. Thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you're doing well. Today we are going to talk about the history of Bitcoin halving. We have seen 3 halving and we are reaching the 4th halving in 2024. We are still a little more than a year, but less than 400 days away from the 4th halving. In 2009, the system would reward a successful miner with 50 Bitcoin every 10 minutes. 3 halving later, 6.25 Bitcoins were being rewarded for every successful block that would be mined. This process will continue till all the Bitcoin have been mined, that is 21 million Bitcoins. And our popular estimate is that that will happen in year 2140. So safe to say none of us will be around at that time. Since we have already seen 3 Bitcoin halving, so we already have some data. So what happened around a year to 400 days before the halving, and how the price of Bitcoin changed at the time of halving, and then we'll look at some other interesting facts. If that sounds interesting, let's get started. So the first Bitcoin halving happened in November of 2012. At that time, the reward was cut from 50 Bitcoin to 25, exactly into the half. The price of Bitcoin before 400 days before the halving was around $2.40. It is really hard to believe that Bitcoin was once in single digits. Now, at the closing of the day on the day Bitcoin was halved, that is November 28, 2012, the price of Bitcoin was $12.22. So that is a jump of 6x in the price, almost in 400 days. Now the second halving, which is from the block reward, but that was cut from 25 Bitcoins to 12.5 Bitcoins. Now this halving happened in July of 2016. And the price of Bitcoin right before 400 days before the halving was around $200. And at halving, the price of Bitcoin was $600. So as we can see, that is 3x price increase in about 400 days. Now let's look at the third halving where the block reward was cut from 12.5 to 6.25 Bitcoin. This is the most recent halving that happened in May of 2020. At the 400 days before the halving, the price of Bitcoin was $4,000. And at the time of halving, the price jumped to $8,500. That is a little more than 2x price increase. Now, if we want to kind of predict what can happen in the 4th halving, I will ideally ignore the first halving because Bitcoin was very, very new and that price action would not be really good to estimate. But the second and the third halving are very similar. So let's take 2x price increase. So we are at 400 days, about 400 days away from the 4th halving. And the price of Bitcoin is little over $24,000. So if we estimate 2x price increase at the time of the 4th halving, that will put Bitcoin as $48,000. So if we want to make it even, so we are looking at a $50,000 Bitcoin, which is cool. Now, if we want to look at how the price increased from at the time of the halving to the all-time high, because we know that after the halving, the price of Bitcoin always reach its all-time high. So we are going to ignore the first halving because, as I mentioned, it was too early on. So the second and the third halving seemed more reasonable. So we are going to take that into account. So the price action from the second Bitcoin halving, the price at the time 400 days before the halving to all-time high was 100x. Now the price 400 days before the third halving to all-time high over here, that was 17x. Now for the 4th halving, if we want to just estimate it at 10 10x from here. So we are right now at $24,000. So 10x from here gonna put us the Bitcoin price at $240,000. Anyway, this is an estimate, and I believe this is conservative estimate in my opinion. But this also tells you how the Bitcoin halving is so important and how it affected the price of Bitcoin every single time. And also, this is not a financial advice, but it is important to accumulate some Bitcoin a year before the halving, because you see the maximum action around 400 or to a year before the halving. So we can expect 2x to 3x increase, maybe, and then that's usually takes about less than actually 100 days to reach all-time high after the halving. And based on the previous second halving, it was 100x, then the third halving was 17x, and you can take the guess from here if you want to put it 100x, which I think is a little aggressive. So I did it with the 10x, but you are free to use your imagination, and let me know what do you think about this, and where do you see the Bitcoin price after the fourth halving? What is your all-time high after the fourth halving? I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you very much for watching. I will see you soon. Thank you, and happy investing.